Hi, welcome to Pamela Price Unfiltered. I'm your host, Pamela Price, and this is the space and the place for real talk. This podcast is all about raw, unfiltered conversations on politics, law, culture, education, systemic racism, and current events shaping our world. We'll go beyond the headlines to dive deep into how some of the most pressing issues impact real people, real families, and our communities. My goal is to help you navigate the complexities of today's world. Each episode will tackle an issue, breaking it down in a way that's honest, informative, and actionable. For those tuning in for the first time, I'm Pamela Price, a longtime attorney, political activist, and champion for justice. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel to watch the show and to my Substack to read the weekly word. Your support keeps the conversation raw and unfiltered. You can also listen to Pamela Price Unfiltered wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome to the show. Let's talk about it.
I'm living in one of the dangerous cities in the country, and that's hard to say, you know. Some people may not realize that Oakland is very difficult to live in. You have a lot of poverty, you have drugs, you have a lot of violence around you, and it's just hard to not be a part of that. So I feel like basketball was my way out.
You don't even know how these streets are changing so.
Dreams come to pass.
All the dreams that come to pass.
Never give in.
Never give in. Never give in your dreams.
Yeah, I left home, came back on another level. Old friends doing the same. They ain't getting better. Old cool still chasing chips, flipping more cheddar. Lord, how soon till it get that we all come together. Searching for that sunny spot in paradise, up in heaven, working every day and night.
My guest today is Robert Fleetwood Bowden, an accomplished author, rap artist, producer, actor, and activist. Fleetwood, as he is called, has been referred to as a torchbearer in the fight to eradicate recidivism. Formerly incarcerated himself, Fleetwood is the founder and director of the Homeboy Hotline. Fleetwood also works at All of Us or None, an Oakland-based nonprofit whose mission is to release, reunify, and restore the rights of formerly and currently incarcerated people. After earning his AA degree in music tech in Minneapolis, Fleetwood went on to publish 3 books: Hip Hop Tried to Kill Me, which is a national bestseller, Blood Test, and Daddy Was a Mobster. Fleetwood made his directorial debut with the documentary I Just Want a Ball, the story of the Lady Warriors of McClymonds High School girls basketball team in Oakland, California in 2013, who were crowned champions after 37 years. In 2015, Fleetwood released his second film, The Cotton Pickers, the intergenerational story of a sharecropper, the effects of sharecropping, and its impact on contemporary society. In 2019, Fleetwood released a third film, Zephaniah. Zephaniah celebrates both the responsibilities of fatherhood and the sacrifices of single mothers. In 2025, Fleetwood is working on his latest film, Kings Raising Queens, the story of 2 fathers who met at a park in Atlanta. Fleetwood, thank you for coming and joining us, and welcome to Pamela Price Unfiltered.
I'm sitting here because I'm honored, and this is a great opportunity, and I appreciate you so much, and man, thank you for having me.
Of course, we appreciate you and all the work that you're doing. So tell my audience a little bit about your journey from North Carolina to San Francisco to now in Oakland, being the light as your mission, and what your mission is and how you got here.
Well, they call me the West Coast country boy. You know, I talk country with West Coast terminology. My mom and dad from Greensboro, North Carolina, pronounced civil rights community. My dad was in the Air Force. He left North Carolina, came to Travis Air Force Base, California, went back and got his mother, which was my grandmother, and his high school sweetheart, which was my mom. And I was born here in San Francisco, Kaiser Hospital, Geary Street. You know, they ended up separating or whatever. 5 years old, I went back to North Carolina. And ever since then, you know, my pop came back and got me at 6, but I was back and forth my whole life. I witnessed the civil rights movement in Greensboro, North Carolina. with the Jim Crow era, and then I would come to Oakland and sit on my grandma's porch on 730 MacArthur and see the Black Panthers, So my pen been bleeding since I was in the first or second grade. I always been a storyteller. I always been light-skinned, as you can see, so I always felt proud of, the melanin in my body. I knew who I was at a young age. And as I grew, the government and the people that wanted to keep me down, they learned who I was. And I ain't no gangster, I'm a soldier. And I'm on a mission from God, I'm on assignment to touch one life. If I can touch one life and let them know who they is, then I did my job. But God will, I'm going to touch many lives.
Well, it sounds like you already have. So tell us about this film, your first film, I Just Want a Ball. How did you come to make that film?
Well, I was working a job in Oakland, and I always followed O'Shea Jackson, who was Ice Cube, and he taught me if you could write a rap song, you could write a grant proposal or a movie script. So I was looking for my first script to write, but I didn't have the money. And then my brother, Kevin Epps, he inspired me to do a doc film, but I didn't have no story. So, I was reading the paper one day on my break, and I ran across a story about McClymon's girls basketball team. And they was talking about the history of McClymon's with Bill Russell, and, the list goes on. And they started talking about a girl basketball team who had won the championship after 36 years. But as I read more, the true victory was what happened on their way to school, what it took for them to get to school every day living in Oakland as a young woman. It's a lot of trap holes for these little girls, and that's just, to be honest, that's the community we come from. We come from the revolution, and you come from like the movie The Mac. And a lot of the households come from that influence of the Mac. So for a little girl, having an auntie or uncle or dad or mom being in that Mac life, it's not an easy travel to school every morning. So that's what I covered. What it takes for them to get to practice, what it takes for them leaving practice to get back home. And the girls using basketball as a tool to catapult to higher learning, and get out of Oakland for a minute, go to Utah State, go to Montana Junior College, and come back as a social worker and continue the revolution. So that was the true victory. And that's what I covered. And my hope is that we can use I Just Want a Ball with the emergence of the WNBA as a visual for the culture in Oakland. But we can use this I Just Want a Ball to talk about the political landscape of Oakland, to talk about the homelessness, the housing crisis. We can use this as a tool and break it down in series. We can put the medicine in the candy, as my grandmama told me. You know what I'm saying? We put the medicine in the candy, something that they love to do, but also got a message and inspiration in it. And most of all, it got God in it, so that's what I do. I create timeless art, and I always have, So I Just Want a Ball, it can come out 20 years from now. It's going to touch the people because it comes from the people. So yeah, I'm just proud to be able to say I was able to help them little girls' story get told, but I want to be able to compensate them little girls. That was 2013, because they gave me their story. They trusted me with their story. So it's only right. So we got people out here in this community, that's financially able to do that. Hey man, help me, man. Help me help the hood, man. If y'all really about it, help me. Y'all can write that off on y'all taxes. Come on now, man.
Well, we know there's a lot of folks that say they want to help and then they don't show up when
it's been poverty pimping. It's been poverty pimping from the day one. People get paid off of people's misery.
That's true, but these are folks that got the money and claim they're gonna put the money in Oakland. Don't get me started because they're not showing up how they should.
Yeah.
But certainly the movie is timeless because the issues that you're talking about and the challenges that young girls face then continue to be the challenges today. Oakland continues to be the third hottest spot for human trafficking in the country. And so those young ladies and their children continue to be prey in our community. So thank you for doing that story because it does show the value of education and the value of collegial, being part of a team, kids want to be part of something.
Exactly.
That gave them something that they could hold on to, even in the midst of, the worst circumstances. And you documented that. So it is a timeless work. Tell us about the other films you've done. You've done like 4 or 5 films.
Yes, ma'am. After I did that film, my mentor, Hamp Bumble Banks, may he rest in peace. He was discovered flying a family stone. I went and told him about it. He said, "Is that all you got? What else you gonna do?" I said, "What you mean?" He said, "Man, what you just gonna do one film?" I said, "Oh no." So then I started looking for my next film, and you said, I do time and stuff. So I talked to this man, Bishop Henry Williams, and he was telling me about how he migrated from Mississippi to Oakland, and how he picked cotton for 18 years and never got paid. So that's him. That's him right there. That's the new movie. So I talked to him, and he was honored that I wanted to do a story about him. And I told him about a book I had read, Man, Child in the Promised Land by Carl Brown, and how I understood the migration of our people. A lot of people don't, like North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, people went to D.C., Philly, New York, people in Mississippi, Alabama went to Gary, Indiana, Chicago, Detroit for the steel mills, the auto industry, and then most people in Texas and Louisiana came out here for the Navy shipyards. So that gave me an opportunity with that film, when people talk to me in interviews, it gave me an opportunity to put the medicine in the candy again. I could explain to the youth, why all their cousins in Texas and Louisiana. I could explain to them, don't be ashamed, man, of a slave. A slave didn't quit. A slave worked from sun up to sundown. There ain't nobody to be ashamed of. That's somebody to salute and be honored that you came from people like that. That's why they can't fade us with Clorox, because our lineage. We come from hard-working, soulful, educated people, man. So I tell the little homies, my group is called the Cotton Pickers, because I represent who represented me. Harriet Tubman, Asa Delassie, the Denmark Vesey, Uncle Nat Turner, Float Like a Butterfly, Sting Like a Bee, Muhammad Ali. Them are my heroes. So that's what we got to let our youth know. You come from somebody strong, educated, and spiritual, man. Don't never forget that. The slaves didn't quit. You better not even think about it, partner. So that's how I come at them. So that's what the film was about, the migration of our people. Bishop Henry Williams, I ain't seen him in a long time. I'm thankful for that opportunity. If he, I'm just hoping his family is proud of it and something happened with it, I can get in touch with this family and financially foundate his legacy, his grandchildren or whatever. But I just want to use it as medicine in the candy and let youth understand the migration of our people and let them know why all black colleges stop in Texas. Ain't no black college past Texas. They start in Maryland, Eastern Shore, and go down to Texas. And there was a reason for that. Like it's timeless again. I just been blessed. That's what God do, man. I wanted to soldier. So he gives me opportunities, man, to spread his word and touch people. And I'm so thankful who I am. And I'm thankful that I know who I is. I ain't no doubt in my mind.
One of your films in particular, Zephaniah.
Oh, wow.
Why is that one so special?
Well, I became a father at 54 years old, and she looked just like my mama. My mama died at 17 years old. So my mama came back in the form of my daughter. Like I said, I stand on being a father. I've been in hibernation with my career for like 3 years because I fought for my child. So, my thing is just let my daughter know she's a princess and one day she's gonna be a queen, but only way she's gonna know that she see a king every day. So I got to get up early and go to sleep late. She got to see my routine, see I'm about it, and she gonna know she comes from a tree or something powerful. Being a father didn't come with no instructions. I got aunties like you that I surround her with, and she mean the world to me. And her name is the 36th book in the Old Testament. It means God's treasure. And every day when I drop off to school, I ask her, what are the 3 things you are? And she say, smart, beautiful, and special. I made that movie so she can always have something to reflect on her childhood, and she can show her children's children this. This is what my daddy did. This is what my dad let me know I was at a young age. And then hopefully, she'll take that spirit and spread it to the community like her grandmother was a social service worker. So she, that was my way of I'm just thankful, man, of technology right now. And this is the last thing I want to say. People remember what they hear, but they believe what they see. So I'm gonna give my baby something to see every time, that you beautiful, you smart, and you special, and keep pushing.
And now you are a director at All of Us or None, an organization that I am so proud of. I had the privilege and honor of being the first legal intern for legal services for children, with children, way back in the day when my baby was in a crib and there was 2 offices, and now you all have a building. And so I'm so proud. Tell my audience about the work you're doing and what All of Us and None is doing.
Well, I'm so honored to be sitting here in this office. Dorsey Nunn is a great man. He founded this organization from nothing, built a multi-million-dollar nonprofit. First landmark thing we did was ban the box. We got the question off of application housing and job application asks, have you ever been a felon? That's when they was located on Van Ness and Market in San Francisco. Then the next landmark legislative thing we did was prevent them from handcuffing pregnant women. We mobilize people in the community and we do policy and legal advocacy. We do legislative work. We the paperwork side of the revolution. Because if you can change laws, you can change conditions inside prisons and out in the community. I'm at the board of supervisors meeting. You know, I'm nosy. I'm nosy when it comes to revolution. I want to know what's going on. You know, so that's the kind of work we do. Me, my job, I'm the inside custody coordinator. I maintain a spreadsheet of 2,100 members we have inside, and I make sure they are educated about the new laws that can get them back home. I make sure they know their rights when they go to the parole boards. I make sure they have support letters when they go to the parole board. I make sure they understand how to regain their rights fighting against CPS, which all they do is separate families. We restore the rights of human rights and civil rights of people. We reunify families, and we help people get released from that dog cage, that modern day plantation, which is called, the prison system. Everybody done did something wrong. Everybody just ain't got caught.
That's true.
In my opinion, ain't nobody perfect but a hypocrite.
Yeah. One of the things that I knew from when I first went to work as an intern with Legal Services for Prisoners with Children was how important it was for people to maintain connection to their children and to their families. And even CDCR today, some 40 years later, has invested in various programs that they call family reunification. I mean, anybody who studied criminology knows that is a key factor to people being able to be successful coming back into the community. So can you talk about how important that is from your perspective now as a single father, formerly incarcerated, and working with incarcerated people across the country?
Well, it's very important. You know, many times CPS job is to come in the courtroom and separate the families, and that's what they do. You know, and it's just terrible. You sit in those cells, and you're trying to raise a family from a cell, and it's hard. You know, a lot of men are disconnected from their children. A lot of women are disconnected from their children. You know, they go to foster care, they go to other family members. You know, and it's just hard. So one thing we do here at All of Us or None around, the holiday season, we have community give back, and we make sure all the parents who have children, we make sure the children get bicycles, and we make sure the children know the bicycle came from their mother or came from their father. And they say it's the thought that what counts and lasts with a child. You know, then we get cards, and they make an autograph card to give to the child, and the child give a card to send in. So it's a bonding situation, and it's beautiful, and it works, and kids just want a little time. They want to be thought about, and I'm proud to be a part of All of Us or None and the work that we do here. And if you're out there listening and you understand what we're doing and you like to come and volunteer and be a part of the community give back, come and get in touch with us. Stop by the Freedom Movement Center. We're right on 4400 Market Street in Norfolk, and it'll be coming up real soon. We need your help. Come and volunteer for a day and be a part of something special, something beautiful. Whatever y'all do, keep God close to you. What you want won't be far from you. God is not a merry-go-round. He won't turn on you, so turn to him. Everybody done did something wrong. Ain't nobody righteous in this world. God ain't say be righteous. He said come to him. You can call him Allah, Buddha, Jesus, or whatever you want to call him, but call him because he won't block your number. Aren't you? Thank you for this opportunity. Yes, sir. Cotton Picker, Fleetwood.
All right, Dr. Fleetwood. Thank you so much. Be well. Welcome to Legally Speaking. On September 2nd, 2025, United States District Court Judge Stephen Breyer issued the first order in California to restrain Donald Trump from deploying his own version of a Gestapo across America. In his historic order, Judge Breyer wrote, Congress spoke clearly in 1878 when it passed the Posse Comitatus Act, prohibiting the use of the military to execute domestic law. For those who don't remember, the Gestapo was the political police force of the Nazi state under Hitler, known as the State Secret Police. Trump's illegal deployment of the National Guard to multiple cities in California is what led to Judge Breyer's order. It was a successful challenge brought by Governor Newsom and California Attorney General Rob Bonta's legal team. In June, 4,000 federalized National Guard troops and 700 Marines were placed under the command of the U.S. Army by Trump. Judge Breyer noted that between 100 to 120 of these troops were were deployed to a cannabis farm, despite there being no specific threat or risk of riot. Breyer called the deployment intentional, stating that the defendants, quote, instigated a months-long deployment of the National Guard and Marines to Los Angeles for the purpose of establishing a military presence there and enforcing federal law. Judge Breyer's ruling barred the remaining 300 National Guard troops in Los Angeles from making arrests, searching locations, and conducting crowd control. Donald Trump immediately appealed Judge Breyer's order, and the appeal is pending. The invasion of California was only the first step, however, in the creation of a national police force loyal only to Donald Trump. In 2 emergency orders issued in August, Trump laid out his game plan to create the new Gestapo. He started by declaring a crime emergency in Washington, D.C., Executive Order 14333. D.C. is special because it is specifically under the governance of the federal government. Statehood has long been a desire but has never been allowed. D.C. is currently under occupation, with the FBI, the HHS, ICE, and the National Guard participating in checkpoints and routine traffic stops. Approximately 2,000 uniformed and armed National Guard members from D.C. and 7 states have largely patrolled metro stations, the famous Union Station, tourist sites, and neighborhoods. They have been assigned at times to make traffic stops and occasionally pick up litter. Once the executive order expired as a matter of law after 30 days, D.C.'s mayor had to essentially bow down in order to slow down Congress from taking full control of the city and to regain control of the D.C. Metropolitan Police Force. According to PBS, however, Congress has already gutted D.C.'s budget, freezing $1 billion in local spending in the middle of the city's fiscal year. According to a fact sheet published by the White House, the executive order on crime in D.C. does a number of things. 1, it establishes an online portal for Americans with law enforcement experience or, quote, other relevant backgrounds to join the federal law enforcement branches in D.C. to support the law enforcement operations there. 2, it instructs law enforcement agencies that are part of the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force to create and begin training, manning, hiring, and equipping specialized units that are dedicated to ensuring public safety and order in D.C. that can be deployed whenever the circumstances necessitate and that could be deployed subject to applicable law in other cities where, in Trump's words, public safety and order have been lost. 3, it directs the Secretary of War, used to be Secretary of Defense, but now he's the Secretary of War, to create a specialized D.C. National Guard unit trained to ensure public safety and order whenever necessary, and ensure that state National Guards are similarly trained and ready to assist in quelling civil disturbances nationwide. 4, the Secretary of War is directed to ensure the availability of a National Guard quick reaction force for rapid nationwide deployment when circumstance warrants. Let me say that again for the people in the back. A National Guard quick reaction force for rapid nationwide deployment. This new quick reaction force appears to be for the express purpose of quelling civil disturbances across America. In Trump's world in 2025, there is no distinction between crime and civil disturbances. How ironic that the instigator of the most significant civil disturbance of our time, the January 6th insurrectionist effort to overturn an election that Trump lost, is now pulling out all the stops to address civil disturbances. Let's not forget that Trump pardoned en masse all of the January 6th insurrectionists who attacked the Capitol Police and the D.C. Metropolitan Police and threatened the lives of numerous lawmakers, including his own vice president. These executive orders don't mention homelessness, but according to Trump's White House, the new federal force that they've deployed has dismantled 50 homeless encampments in less than 30 days. There's no word on how many of those residents received shelter. This follows the executive order that he issued in March that authorized the removal of any homeless encampments on federal property. Neither the original executive order nor the new, quote, additional measures to address the crime emergency in the District of Columbia executive order mention homelessness at all. In Trump's world, however, there is no distinction between committing a crime and being unhoused. The Democratic Party is terrorizing the American people. It is an entity devoted exclusively to the defense of hardened criminals, gangbangers, and illegal alien killers and terrorists. The Democratic Party is not a political party. It is a domestic extremist organization. These are the words of Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller called the Democratic Party a domestic extremist organization. Some of the mainstream media tried to sugarcoat what he said, but don't get it twisted. He called the Democratic Party an extremist organization. Check it out.
Look, we discussed this last time I was on your show. The Democrat Party does not fight for, care about, or represent American citizens. It is an entity devoted exclusively to the defense of hardened criminals, gangbangers, and illegal alien killers and terrorists. The Democrat Party is not a political party. It is a domestic extremist organization.
This is the type of right-wing branding that makes it okay to spy on you, arrest you, and target you for prosecution. Stephen Miller's rant on Fox News also talked about catch and release. If that sounds familiar to Alameda County, that is the same rhetoric of Congressman Eric Swalwell when he endorsed my recall. Thank you, Eric, for showing us your true colors. For the 2026 midterms, Republicans are clearly running on fear of crime and blaming Democrats. But Stephen Miller, we know this guy. We've talked about him on this show. Stephen Miller is Donald Trump's Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and the Homeland Security Advisor. Stephen Miller is a far-right white nationalist. He is the author of the infamous illegal Muslim ban in Trump's first term and the architect of Trump's immigration policies. When ABC White House correspondent and anchor Terry Moran risked his whole job and career, and he called Stephen Miller a world-class hater, he was letting us know how dangerous Stephen Miller really is. We also know what it means when the government labels your organization an extremist organization. J. Edgar Hoover, the notorious FBI director, labeled the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense an extremist organization and launched COINTELPRO to disrupt its operations, infiltrate and undermine the organization, and ultimately murder its members. Hoover called the Southern Christian Leadership Conference under Dr. Martin Luther King's leadership an extremist organization, and that opened the door for him to wiretap and infiltrate that organization. The Communist Party USA was labeled an extremist organization. The Ku Klux Klan is an extremist organization. When the Afrikaners in South Africa wanted to suppress the growing freedom movement, they branded the African National Congress, the ANC, as an extremist group. Israel today justifies the genocide of the Palestinian people in Gaza by telling the world that Hamas is an extremist organization. Being labeled an extremist organization in the United States by the United States government means you are on the way to persecution, prosecution, and political repression. This is Stephen Miller's vision of life in Trump's America. Thanks for tuning in to Pamela Price Unfiltered. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And please sign up this month as a founding member or a paid subscriber to my Substack newsletter to read the weekly word from Pamela Price Unfiltered. Your support keeps the conversation raw and unfiltered. You can also listen to Pamela Price Unfiltered wherever you get your podcasts. I don't know that way, yeah.